Hello, this is Carlos Grage. I just want to go over my admissions design. It's a feature to regulate some restrictions to certain features in the application. So here's the interface. admin component, and it is one method that's overloaded that will take in any component that is needed. Basically, these are all windows. As you can see, this is all windows, and from that window you might have buttons, a button on that window that you can disable, for example, and that's how you would go about that. So this is the implementation of this interface, and then these all inherit this implementation. So you would go about disabling something, you would, administrator is not really a good example, but developer, administrator would have the highest level and access to everything. So developer may have restrictions to some administrator features. So you would override maybe this login window, a button on there. So you would override that method. And what happens is, why these all inherit from each other is you want to call the super. So the method from the super and execute that code, and then any extra code that you would like. So what happens is developer may be restricted from something, but if developer is restricted from something, so will user and viewer. And that is why it's done this way. Basically, it's just going to save redundant code and just make the user levels much easier to work with. So yeah, if you wanted to disable something, excuse me. So let's say you want to disable something from developer, then it will automatically disable it as well from user and viewer, which is what we want. Obviously, if you have very different requirements for everything, then this wouldn't be a good design. You may want to have them all implement, or have them all, rather than have the inheritance like this, they would all inherit from the implementation. And then they can all do their own thing. They can all do their own thing, kind of, without, because you would just override the method, the implementation anyways. But with this way, we can call the super and get that code, so we can do it that way. That's the purpose of this. So hopefully that is all set. So yeah, basically just interface, and then implementation, inheritance, and then you can use polymorphism. Okay, so that's covered. I got a few methods here. I did add another method. So this authorize, which takes the component, get information from database. That will basically get the user level from that database, or access level actually. So we have this set admin component which I added, and that will take the access level that we get from this get info from database. It will call this, pass the access level, and then from there it will determine which one of these are going to be used, determine on the access level, and then from there pretty much authorize is called with the component, and then the set permissions is called, and whichever interfaces any of these can be passed in as basically the interface. They all implement this interface. Which one we want to use, which implementation we want to use, we can choose, and that is set with set admin component type. That's set here, and then it's just passed here. So basically the only thing that's called is authorize whatever component we want. That would be this, one of these components, the backup database table dialog window, batch edit window. Any of these would be passed in as a component. Alright, so I'll go over the code. Hopefully I covered everything here. So the code, I'll show some of those methods. So, alright, so it's basically that's that. We have some, I'll just go over everything, I guess. The database table information, as constants, the constants for each access level, and now these are going to match the database. So basically, if there's like an enum for all of these, that's going to match the database, and these are just like columns. So the database table name, this is the name of the database table. This is the columns. So if we change something in the database, just come here and change it here, and that will fix any place that we were using these variables. So there's class variables. So we have string user login, string access level, and a static iAdmin component, admin component. So the access level and the admin component are going to be used for those methods I was explaining. So we get the information from the database, and I have this stored in a map here, or we have a map, and then we use this SQL commands. Pass the query, and then basically check. So the access level, this means it's not empty, right? So it means we've got something, or it could be null. So we can also just default, and the default currently is user. And I have these booleans just to handle anything where this is called from. So that's that. So the method that I wanted to talk about is here. It should also be here as well, actually. So still got to set it here as well. So really, so we don't want them both here. We know, but we also don't want the return true or false. So yeah, it looks like these are a good way to do it. Okay, yeah, so if the boolean wasn't there, then obviously I would have it on the outside here, run this code, and then just have this one line here, just a little cleaner. But yeah, I have the true and false, so I do need to run this first, and then return either true or false. But I still need to set this. And because we have a default, it's set here. The true or false actually does handle something. It gives a message and lets them know. They can still, they're accessed as a default, but if they're supposed to have like maybe a higher level, then it hasn't been set yet and it needs to be set. Something like that. So anyways, the access level gets passed into this set admin component type, so I'm going to get to that. And what I did was just want to set which admin component is going to be used, basically as long as they're logged in. So when the user logs in, and then we can get the information from the database and find out which one they're supposed to be using. So if they're administrator, then we'll set it for the new administrator, and whichever implementation that we want. So set permissions. So basically the authorizer will pass this component, and then read the component, and then whatever the implementation that was selected here. So basically this doesn't have to get called anymore. The only thing that's going to be called from now on is the authorize, and pass the component and set the restrictions accordingly. So as these set permissions, just takes the component here and whatever implementation we have. Now here the component can be any component, and it checks to see which one it is and which overloaded method to call. So that's pretty much it for that, and that's how it works. So Yeah, I think that covered everything. Um, I guess I can show maybe um, a developer. Um, I don't know if I have a good one, but I just want to show this. I use super, and it calls, so we'll call whatever's for administrator. Um, the, you know, so that's that. Um, and maybe just kind of show, maybe viewers get something. I'm not sure. User. So you just got some code here. You can see window got passed in, so we want to inherit everything prior, and for all the previous user levels. And then we have window get menu print set enabled. So this is some component, and we want to set enabled to false. We want to set this menu item to false. So basically all menu items over here set to false for the viewer. User. I'm sorry, the user. Um, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's how it works. And hopefully that will help you. If you need to do anything or add something, make any changes. That's how it works. That's the design. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching.